I don't want to do the intro. One of you guys do it. I always do it. You do it.
In a world where Neil is lazy as fuck,
I'm a rebel
one of
today.
us has to take over for the intro. Welcome to the Reactaholics, everybody.
Hey.
Intro dialogue. You see how easy it is. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do it.
I just did. Wait, it is better than
you
your
didn't
bitching.
introduce everybody. You didn't say something funny.
Yes.
Do it. You didn't do it.
Well, you're already writing the jokes for me. You're making yourself the fool here. So let's introduce our very interesting cast. First, we got the smooth, the chill, the Jest, and the Ron. This is I'm Just Ron. Hi, Ron.
What up, Mel? What up, Neil? What a good day to do what we always do. Talk about things we love.
It's great to be back. We haven't done one of these in a while.
It's been a good while. It's been a good while. But you know what? What better way to get bounced back on the horse?
Right. Hopefully 2019 will be better for us. Well, Reactaholics way.
2019 will be a horse. You heard it here first from Ron.
Well, speaking of, different species, we have Dr. Knealetapus, and it's a good thing he's not a doctor, else we'd all be dead. Hi, Neil.
You don't know whether I'm a doctor. I could be. Look at this profile picture. Look at this blue hair I've got going on. Look at this weird wig going. I could be the next.
It's a good thing you're not a doctor. I'd be terrified. And unfortunately, Callum or Scotswizard or John Bailey, or as he's known, epicvoiceguy, could not join us today. John had internet problems, and Callum, I think he's just MIA.
I believe so.
And of course, I have to give a shout out to Chris, even though you can't hear him, but you got to give props to the puppet master behind these strings with us. So we're all here. We're all here. We're all clear. Get used to it. But anyways, so since we're not doing the Batman animated episode for a bit now, we have to postpone it. Did we still want to do news? Or did we just want to jump right into it?
It's necessary. We're doing reviews. Don't need news. Reviews.
No, I'm asking if we were still doing that, Neil.
Nah. I'm listening. I'm being jokey.
See, this is meant in 2019, folks.
Only a month
Okay. So instead of the usual format today we'll be trying something a little different. Mostly because we had plans to do other things and are doing none of those things. Instead, we will be doing reviews of some of the popular movies that came out, briefly talking about the Oscars, and just because we want to, talking about the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Because reasons. Deep and it looks cool, that's why.
Right. So anyway, let's just jump right into it then. So I'll let Ron pick. What's the first movie you want?
I think we have to go and talk about the film that people are calling the savior of the DC. The one that helped them make $1 billion. If we would have thought 10 years ago if this movie made $1 billion, we probably would have slapped that person in the face. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
That's right, Ron. I agree with you full-heartedly. Teen Titans Go.
Oh, my God.
We're talking about the one that we couldn't believe that we were going to say. Aqua Bro, a.k.a. Aquaman. We're talking about Aquaman, guys.
Right? That movie was amazing. I'm so surprised I got to see it.
It shocked me in so many ways. I did.
I have a story about this, actually.
Go.
So, growing up, me and my cousin, his name is Sebastian, He is my best friend, and
Hi.
we do everything.
Stop. I didn't realize I was on
Just
mute. John's on Skype. Send him the invite. We're not doing the Batman one, but just send him an invite on Skype. He's on Skype now.
he's invited. He's good. He's good. He can join as planned. But just to continue.
Yeah, no, resend it to him. He doesn't see the group call.
Okay, do we just want to restart then?
Oh,
We've sort of upset the pattern. You know what? Fuck it. No, fuck it. Keep it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Well, Neil, resend him the call.
Okay, I will resend him the call. He's in the conversation. I'll send it. Hey, okay. John, can you join? Okay, I'm going to finish my story while I do this. So, growing up, me and my cousin, my favorite superhero was Hawkeye. His favorite superhero was Aquaman. So, of course, we naturally made fun of the other person because both our superheroes kind of suck. So I would always say that Aquaman is stupid. He talks to fish. And he'd always be like, well, Hawkeye is stupid. He shoots bows and arrows. And we just fight and fight and fight. But with this movie coming out, I officially told him I was wrong. I was wrong about Aquaman. I was wrong that this happened. And I bought him Aquaman's trident as his trophy for being right. And he has proudly displayed that in his living room. And, it was a fucking awesome movie. It was deeper than I thought it would be. It was really fun. All in all, it was just a good, fun film and probably my favorite of the DC movies.
Think about that. Think about that for a second. When they were starting this all out, none of us thought Aquaman would be this way. And I think this is what DC needed. Like, they needed this something to help ride the ship for everything that's been going on with them. Wonder Woman helped start it off, and then they gave people another bad taste in their mouth with Justice League. So Aquaman was the last leg in the bridge. Like, it had to do well. And it blew everyone out the water. No pun intended. Please. I didn't mean to do that on purpose.
You did. You so did.
I know. I know. Forgive me. Forgive me.
One of us.
And I think they did a good job with just making it just a character story, not linking it to other future movies. Just an Aqua Bro doing magical talking, dancing, and octopuses, magical sea creatures. Ugh. Aquaman.
I mean,
you would think on paper this probably shouldn't work. The whole movie takes place underwater. Okay. The main character can talk to fish. Okay. We're going to have a scene where Octopus play the drums. Okay. And yet, it's just, honestly, and I do not say this lightly, it feels like Guardians of the Galaxy in a degree where it really shouldn't work, and yet it works masterfully.
I mean, I agree with you too. I agree with both. I think that the deal breaker is going to be Shazam. Aquaman was Shazam. And Aquaman was they could have easily made this really shitty, and especially most people see they could have easily usually say Superman or Batman because it's one and still one's pretty much God, the other one's an awesome detective. you even get stuff like that with Wonder Woman being like, oh, she's like one of the first female superheroes and she doesn't need no man. Whereas with Aquaman, he was kind of the joke. Like the redheaded stepchild, where it's like, oh, all he just does is talk to fish. But in that movie, they showed that he does so much more than that. Being like, not only can he talk to them, he can control them.
And that's the one thing I think it was the people thinking that, honestly, could this be taken seriously? And I think that's what they did. Like, they were able to have fun with it, but also in a way that make you believe and like him. That's the one thing. You like Jason Momoa. You like him. You want to root for him. That's the one thing. You like Jason Momoa. You like him.
Also, something else I like is, and this is just masterful storytelling in my opinion, they took the thing that made Aquaman dumb, the fact he can talk to fish, and that's how he got the trident. That's how he saved the day. Aquaman's dumb power we always made fun of him for, that's the one thing he can do that all the rest of the Atlanteans can't, and God, it's cool. Like, he doesn't use his talking to fish power a lot, but when he does, it is just one of the best parts of the movie. One of the best parts of Aquaman is talking to fish. And that's the thing we always make fun of. It's baffling. It's baffling how well this worked.
I think they just had a nice, even balance. Like, I can kind of see where you're getting Marvel with how they portrayed him, but I think they were able to combine both DC and Marvel with this one, in my opinion. Like, they still gave him semi of a tragic backstory, but it wasn't extreme. Like, look at, when they played his past a little bit. And when he was talking, he was under the assumption his mom left, and then he gets that big kick in the balls when he's older. But it still doesn't affect him who he is. He's still like, yeah, he's a little bit angst and with an I don't give a fuck attitude, but it also makes sense because he also answered the question that most superhero films don't. And that was in the beginning. He actually showed being like, not all, heroes have to have a moral code. Like, look what happened to Black Manta's dad. Being like, he actually threw out a good point, being like, oh, let you live so that way you can kill millions more? Fuck you. And then he learned a lesson from that.
Because he's like, went through that arc. You're really right. Like, he went through that arc, and at the end, he has an option to kill Orm. And his last words to Orm are, hey, when you're ready, we'll talk. Like, that's the thing. He saved the day with, like, a huge action scene. But he only got there because he was willing to listen and talk and speak. And there's a lot of subtext to this movie. And I really feel like it's going to hold up. Like, I've commonly said that Marvel is going to be the new Star Wars. I feel like Aquaman might be one of those movies that people revisit years down the line. And, realize how good it was.
I agree.
But don't get it twisted, as, the things that in this film that don't work for me was the exposition, the relationship between Aquaman and his girlfriend. Like, I enjoyed I was more connected with his dad and his mom. Like, I believe those two were more of a couple than Aquaman and his girlfriend. Like, not even.
I agree, especially like that. Even with like him knowing, or at least he thought he knew what happened to his wife. He still waited for her, regardless of what he knew.
And I was like, yes. Oh yeah, I was so invested in that.
And the relationship was cute, but it wasn't forced.
Right.
I think that's the problem with a lot of movie couples these days, and that's not just superheroes. That's just movies nowadays. Is the forced couple trope? Like, that they're going to be together, and in a sense, they kind of did it with Aquaman and his soon-to-be wife, and whoever reads the comics knows, being like, that's his wife. But they were kind of forced upon, but at least like some of their chemistry was a little bit believable. But with his parents, though,
Oh, beautiful.
everything.
And also, too, I didn't like the off and on CGI in the film. I felt it was like it's distracting. Like you could tell when something was like real, and I think you're like, oh come on! Like you guys went to Venice, you guys went there, and you couldn't film there, and yet you got to go in an area where you had to CGI the water. Like it was way distracting.
I really agree with you, Ron. Towards the beginning, there were a few fish. It's just the scene where they're about to show the meeting with Orm and the other king of the army. And just before they get there, there are a few fish. And I just remember staring at those fish and going, oh no, this better not be the CG for the whole movie. And then we get to the end and the CG is really good. So I was okay with it. But my opinion on the relationship real fast, because I didn't really say anything. Here's the thing. I agree the romance could have been better. But what I love about Mira is that she isn't Mary Jane. Like, you know, she isn't just there for the hero to save. Like, Mira is doing shit. She has her own powers. She's helping Aquaman, constantly active. Like, she is much better than a character like, let's say, Jane Foster from Thor. Well,
let's not do that.
But I just think, like, badass characters like Peggy Carter and, you know, Chris Pine's Steve Trevor, stuff like that, they're interesting love interests. And I feel like Mira falls under that. Like, she was cool, and she did stuff. So even though the romance wasn't the best, I'm still glad Mira was in the movie. Because
I agree.
She was very interesting, and I love her.
Well, I think Mira is interesting. I think there's only one issue I had with the movie, and that was actually when they were dropped off in the Sahara to, you know, unlock that, you know, that, I forget what it was, because I just, you know, I only saw it once.
They needed to find the map, find the trident.
Yeah, so I felt like they did they just didn't edit or coerce that scene right to me, because you first get a little bit of Mira's prejudice against humanity.
Yeah.
But then they kind of rush it to where it's like, once they find that, you know, puzzle piece, they're already in Venice. Right? They were in Venice. Yeah, they were in Venice. And where, yes, it was sweet that she started kind of opening her eyes, but to me, it was like there was no context there. There was like, did they have a conversation prior? Like they could have instead of like, I think that was the problem, was the Sahara scene was too long and the Venice scene was too short. I think they should have cut off some of the Sahara scene and had them travel on the way out, like her first seeing the bad, because they're in the Middle East, right? Seeing like people starving or seeing people at war and proving kind of her point. But then as they travel, and that could only be like few minutes of doing that if you do it right. But then when she got to Venice, then started seeing the good about humanity. That was, I think, one of the weakest parts about her, was why throw in her having a prejudice against humans if you're not going to have her learn, at least with Aquaman and his like reasoning for opening his eyes for what he did to Mantis made sense, because they gave it time. Not too much time, but gave it enough where he sat there and he was like, it was because I let his dad die, because I viewed him as a bad guy, that I made an enemy. That was balanced out. And they could have done the same for her. So to me, the prejudice thing was not called for, or it wasn't needed, because it had no purpose with her character. And that scene in general, just kind of like the Sahara scene dragged too long, and then the Venice scene was way too short. I also had a problem with the explosions in the movie. I felt like I had to play a drinking game, being like, another explosion, take a shot.
Look, there were a lot of explosions, but I gotta say, as somebody who, I don't know if you've noticed this, but my favorite villains are kind of obscure. My favorite Batman villain is Mad Hatter. My favorite Spider-Man villain is Mysterio, who I'm very excited for. And one of my favorite DC villains was Black Manta, and is Black Manta. So
you need to be in this, though.
Manta walk up there with that big-ass, stupid-ass helmet and that dumb-ass giant laser thing and his stupid fucking jetpack. I was just like, yes, you did it. You did exactly what I wanted you to do. I love you so much. And I just stood at the screen and I was like, wow. They actually had him do it. They made Arthur kill his dad. And technically it's arguable here, but it was just really neat to me that in those few seconds, they establish how deeply the father and son care for each other. The son is refusing to leave the father to the point where the father blows himself up just so his son will run away.
That was a good scene.
And it's such a good scene because when he gets on that ladder, you can see all the hurt in his face, all of the hurt. And then suddenly it goes away and everything that was hurt and sad is now fucking pissed. And I love it. Black Manta is probably my favorite part of the movie, but Orm is really good too. Like, you know,
I don't agree.
He's pretty good. Like, he's got some good action scenes. He's not he's not Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. He
wishes.
He's got character. Like, the second he sees his mom, instantly he's like, I don't want to fight anymore. He's a human.
That comes at all the way to the end, and like the rest of the movie, he's like a basic trope villain. Like, we've seen him before. That's why I wasn't invested in him.
And this is why I'm so conflicted. Every time I talk about Aquaman and the characters, I keep using the word human. And technically, these characters aren't human. They're Atlanteans. They're a different species. But I keep calling them human because I relate to them so much. I relate to Willem Dafoe's character. I think his name is Orko. I relate to Arthur Curry, of course. It's just such a good movie, and I do think I'm going to watch it a bunch. Like, not even kidding. I have a friend in Bumblebee, and I thought about seeing Aquaman again instead of seeing Bumblebee.
Really?
But I did see it. I did see it because I like John. John is my friend.
Right.
Well,
I've been trying to add him on the call for a while. But
It's okay. We'll just go with it. I mean, he said his Wi-Fi's fucked up, so sorry, John. We love you. Go ahead, Bram.
Well, speaking of films that you said that you love, let's transition to a film that I've yet to see one person say one bad thing for. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The little engine that could. My goodness, as this film took up storm. It is.
Yeah, this is I say this in the best way, but this is really the Justin Bieber of movies right now. And I mean that in a good way.
Please.
Yeah, hear me out. One day, nobody was talking about Justin Bieber at all. I went into school, no Justin Bieber. The very next day, everybody is talking about Justin Bieber. There are people wearing Justin Bieber shirts. He's the new thing. One day, nobody cared about Spider-Verse. Everyone was sure it was going to be good, but nobody was that interested. The next day, people are drawing their spider-sonas. People are getting dressed up. Everyone's talking about how Miles is the best version of Spider-Man. It's just one day, it didn't matter, and then the next, it was the biggest thing in the world, and for good reason.
You got to remember, though,
so good.
This is the same team that the last thing they did, Sony Animations did, was with the Emoji Movie. And now, look at this. They came up with this film that touches things that not a lot of superhero movies, and it's rare to say it, that they didn't do. And how they got something that Spider-Man 3 couldn't do. you put all these characters together and you made them all human, like you say, give them time to breathe, and you made them care. We actually were invested in each other version of Spider-Man. The animation was beautiful, and the story was really deep.
Here's the thing, and I want the MCU to go back and do this now, because Sony has proved that it isn't annoying. They didn't do Spider-Man's origin once. They didn't do Spider-Man's origin twice. They did like 7. They did 7 Spider-Man origins, maybe 6. I think 7. It is 7 because blonde Peter Parker got one. So they did 7 different Spider-Man origin stories in one movie, and everybody's bitching like, oh, I don't want to see Uncle Ben get shot again.
Yeah.
I want to see great power, great responsibility. Shut up. That's who Spider-Man is. That's his whole thing. You need great power comes great responsibility to have Spider-Man. So just suck it up. You did it 7 times in this movie. Marvel, Far From Home, just have one flashback scene of him and Uncle Ben, damn it. That being said, even the villains are good in this movie. Like, I like seeing Tombstone. I liked Liz Octavius, I believe her name is.
And Kingpin?
Yeah, Kingpin was fine for me.
I actually have one problem with Kingpin.
Go.
His aesthetic. It's true. Like, okay.
No, you're not wrong.
For me being serious here, so the one problem with his aesthetic is that with the other characters, even if they were from different universes, I still believe they belonged in this movie, or at least in this world that they made. Kingpin, though, looks like that I just pulled out and I know this has been a joke that everyone said, but the pig from Chicken Little, and they squashed his head down to pretty much his chestal cavity, being like, there you go, and then just square him up and get rid of the snout and the pig ears and anything that made him into a pig. That's Kingpin. Like, I didn't mind the acting. I didn't mind the character. It's the aesthetic that was the problem. It was just like, you did such a good job with everybody else. Like, shit, making Doc Ock in this universe a woman. I believe that would be Doc Ock if in another universe as a woman. Like, her aesthetic
that's actually from the comics.
Huh?
That's actually from the comics.
Oh, I know.
I believe. I liked it. I liked seeing female Doc Ock because, you know, she had that weird ass afro, and I loved it. It was just like a good design for Doc Ock.
It fit, but you believe that would be regardless of her gender. You believe that was Doc Ock. You know what I mean? But with Kingpin, it's
you
like,
will believe a human being can have 4 arms on their back and pretend to be an octopus.
Yes, Neil. But with Kingpin, it's just like everyone else's aesthetic, even if they were like noir Spider-Man, looked, you know, like he belonged there. I forget the Japanese one. I really do. Because she didn't get enough screen time for me to remember her name, but she made sense in it. Even the pig made sense, or at least aesthetically, being like you believed that he belonged there. But with Kingpin, it was just like they just missed all notes with that. On that look, being like, I kind of want to be on the board of that and being like, okay, who was the one who decided that? Who was the one? Because you're fired. Whoever came up with Kingpin's design. But here's the thing, though. Saying that that's my only problem with the movie, though, is saying everything.
Man,
being like, that's my only problem with it. Being like, I had no problem with the character of Kingpin. I actually kind of like that in this universe, he was trying to get his wife and son back when that tragedy happened, and he was willing to destroy dimensions to do it. But then you also discover being like why that occurred was his fault to begin with. That was deep. Being like that was poetic irony, if you want to call it that. But saying that just his aesthetic look was my only problem with this film is saying everything. Being like, whoever has not seen it needs to. And also, too, I think it's a good thing for Marvel because why this one, I think, was a make or break for Marvel. Like, Marvel has not come out, like, they have come out with animated stuff, but not any good stuff. Like, that's always been DC's wheelhouse. Like, yeah, Marvel's has been rocking the game in, live action theater for 10 years, but who's been rocking the animated stuff? DC. And you haven't really had anything good for Marvel in a while, so if this flopped, they would have been out, but now they actually have a leg on DC where it's like, DC, you see what they just did? You see what they just did? Their first good animated anything in a while. You best step your game up now. Being like you're good, but now you got to step your game up if you want to still remain the best. It puts a threat to that, in a sense. But saying that, being like it's the first good animated thing. The last thing I remembered animated from Marvel that I loved was X-Men back in the day. Even though it's dated, it's still enjoyable to watch.
That says a lot because it felt like an homage, like to comic book fans and fans who, like you said, that grew up with those animated superhero shows back when. Mm-hmm. And it also felt like a living, breathing comic book. It deserves all the credit it's getting. And it also deserves more because I know a lot of people wrote that people want to say this is one of the best movies of the year, but no, you can't. It's a cartoon movie. Cartoon movies aren't real movies, which is a shame. That's a still thing that people love to throw out.
I know, and that's atrocious. Why? That's atrocious. Being like, why? Being like, look at all the other animated good stuff that's not even related to Marvel at all that came out before it. Being like, yes, without those, this Spider-Man would have not had a chance. True. But it's just like, no, animated stuff can be nominated, or it can be one of the best movies of the year, or if not the best, being like, why we're still having these arguments, being like, oh, it's animated, doesn't count, is still asinine to me. Being like, why are we even having this argument? Being like, everyone should know by now that, yes, animated movies are, they count. They'll always. But with all that love and respect, yes.
I actually have a question for you, but first I'll share a little more of my thoughts. I also had a problem with the film, but mine is a nitpick of the highest caliber.
Please, what is it?
My problem is, okay, I like Miles Morales. I think Miles Morales is a very good character and interesting. He's got a good origin. I like the Into the Spider-Verse story. I think that's a very interesting story. That's a giant crossover between several different Spider-Mans. I think that's awesome.
Two for two. Okay, I'm loving this so far.
I wasn't super into the fact that they meshed them together because those are two separate stories. So, and here's why this is a nitpick. I wanted two movies. I wanted two movies on the same day. I wanted a movie where it was Miles Morales' origin, and then afterwards I could go watch the Spider-Verse movie. I wanted two.
But in the end, you kind of got both, all into one.
I got both, but I could have got two movies. Just imagine both of them just as good, two movies. That being said, this movie is really good. I cried 3 times during it. The first time was...
Four for me.
Well, the first time was the death of Spider-Man. Like, I didn't cry when he died. I cried, like, when they were celebrating his death. Like, when Mary Jane was doing her eulogy. When Stan Lee was speaking about being his friend. And then making a joke about no returns.
That one caught me off guard so quickly.
The tombstone if you guys saw our Stan Lee tribute episode, you know what this character has done to me. And we just saw the first ever live-action cinematic death of Spider-Man. No, Infinity War does not count, but that one was sad too. We just saw the first actual death. He's dead. He's not coming back in the sequel. He's gone. And also, to everybody who's saying that Peter Parker from Infinity War is dead, go watch the Far From Home trailer. But, Ron, I actually have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, it's very seldom that I bring race into Reactaholics.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I do have to ask, just since you also grew up in New York, what was it like for you, like having, Miles, like a story about Miles? Was
Here's
it
the thing. Go ahead.
change anything? I don't know. I don't know how to phrase this.
Well, first off, the atmosphere of New York in that film did a real good job. It really spoke, and I appreciated that. I really appreciated that it took what New York is, because this is actually the first movie that's made you see, New York is a very interracial place. Not a lot of films do that. And for an anime movie to do that, it's a lot of respect. But also, too, you hear Biggie's song, Hypnotized, playing. I love that. I love that so much. And so much New York rappers in it. That's perfect. But also, too, with Miles, because Miles is also half African-American and half Latino. And I think he's Puerto Rican. I think
it's Puerto Rican, but I'm not going to quote us.
I actually think it's Latino, but I do not know. I do not know Miles Morales' ethnicity.
I know he's mixed.
Sake of it, it's just he's a part of the he's half Latin. We'll say that. And
I loved seeing that on it, but the one thing that you respect about it the most is that they're not shoving it in your face he's he is a token character. No, Miles is his own person. He's trying his best to live his life, going to a new school, something that every kid can relate to, being awkward, trying to just figure out how the day can go, but while also having these new powers. He's human. He's a person, and I love that, because you're not looking him as his race. You're looking at Miles, and you're loving Miles for him. And representation matters, because now these kids look at that and they're like, I'm Spider-Man. But the whole thing too is that anybody can be Spider-Man, and I love that.
I have to agree with you too, especially I think you could have cast him as and this is yes, you could have casted him as being any sort of different ethnicity, but the fact that they made him so relatable, even just to play off with your point, in the beginning, you saw that he went to one prior school and he was very loved and popular there.
Right.
And now doing this different element, he's not used to, people, he's used to people laughing with him or enjoying his company, whereas going to a new school, and I've been through that.
Of course.
And you could have even asked me that question too. I thought they did a good representation for New York City because I'm from there, even though I don't live there at the moment. But I think even if they shot it not in Queens, but somewhere else, just the way they wrote him, it's anyone could identify it. And I do agree with you 100%. It's now anyone can be Spider-Man.
Yes. And we're going to hope that this film continues to get its justice and its just dues. And hopefully possibly sequels.
Oh, if I don't see a Cine Noir movie, I'm going to be mad. Nick was everything for the little bit he was in. I enjoyed him every second. Being we got our old Nick back. We got our old Nick back.
I got to say this. This is probably the last thing I'll say. I got to say the other times I cried. But there's a reason this Spider-Sona thing is, and I know I made a joke about it earlier, I really like this because that's the moral of the story. Anybody can be Spider-Man. And now this big fad has come up where people are drawing themselves as Spider-Man and as Spider people. Because if that's real and there are infinite dimensions like the movie is trying to push, there is a dimension where you're Spider-Man. There's a dimension where someone you know is Spider-Man. Like,
Right.
That's the thing. And it's really cool. If you want to join, Callum is saying he wants to join. That is up to you, Chris. You treat that how you wish. I will finish on my crying story the second time I cried, which I liked this time because I cried for Miles, meaning the movie made about Miles. Hey, Callum. Chill out. Callum, chill, my man. I need to speak. All right, so the second time I cried was I cried because Miles was in the chair and he was talking to his dad.
Oh.
And that was the second time, and I'm glad the movie made me care about Miles enough where I shedded a few tears for him. Like, that was
too. It's so Harley Quinn.
I'm just saying. And the last time I cried, Ron correctly predicted this would happen, was just the credits. I was crying because I was happy it existed. And, I loved Aquaman. I thought Aquaman was great. I didn't cry. So make of that what you will. I don't know which one I like better. I'm not going to give an opinion on that. One of them made me cry.
Callum.
Hi.
Let's talk about...
Are we doing the Batman episode?
We are not today.
What? Oh, come on. After all the build-up.
We're not today, man.
So what is the theme today?
We are just winging it, and we're basically talking about movies and reviewing them and all that gravy.
Films
So
that just came out, we're reviewing about, and we're talking about a small topic on the Oscars and what we think.
Okay, this is basically award-winning films. Okay. I'm
right. Like we've already talked about.
I'm going to be incredibly annoyed.
Wait, who's going to be incredibly annoyed?
My friend who's been anticipating the Batman episode for quite some time, and some of your other fans. We need to get this sorted. But anyway, according to the award-winning films, I've got a few things to say. Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. That has to win animated.
Wait, not yet, Cal. Not yet.
Not yet,
buddy.
Hold that in. I want you to hold that in just for a little bit.
I
forgot you.
We just talked about how we felt about Aquaman and Into the Spider-Verse. We're not really Oscars yet.
We're good, buddy. Callum, what are your opinions on Into the Spider-Verse? How did you feel about it?
It's the best animated of last year, and it was absolutely fantastic. I could say it was an amazing film. And spectacular, even. You could bring it
also
home.
Say superior, ultimate. What's other Spider-Man?
So, honestly, it is astounding. Animation was so brilliant with how stylized it was. I love how it took some chances similar to Samurai Jack, and sort of expanding the horizons of what animation can do. I mean, animation doesn't have to just be silly fun for kids. No, it can be an art form. It can be depicted in many ways, and this is one of them. Just paying homage to the comic books and introducing everybody to some brand new characters and giving us the most refreshing Spider-Man ever. Well, one of the Spider-Man films ever. The animation alone is what makes the film worth watching. And if Isle of Dogs and Incredibles 2 was for the BAFTAs, yeah, I'm I'm going to bring up the BAFTAs since I live in the UK. The BAFTAs are Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has to win just for the animation alone.
Not yet.
I mean,
not yet, though. Not yet, though.
Hold on, buddy.
Yeah.
But now I want you now to give me your 2 cents on Aquaman. What do you think about it?
I have not seen it, so I could just ramble on about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse all day.
You're good. You're done. That's it.
How is it possible that you haven't seen it yet, but I did?
Smells like rain.
It's fine. He hasn't seen it yet. But something I think we have all seen that we need to talk about. We're focusing way too much on the good people. I think it's time to focus on something else. Who here has seen Venom?
I still haven't yet.
Like a turd in the wind.
You've seen the trailer and you've already decided what your opinion is of it. You've told me a few times you think it's all...
Raising that middle finger, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I'm never getting sick tired of that.
I haven't seen it yet, and I think I refuse.
What do you think of it, Ron? How do you feel about Venom?
Oh, I'll be straightforward. And Mel, I promise, no spoilers, but this is stupid. It is stupid fun, but it is stupid nonetheless, okay? This film made $1 billion. $1 billion.
What?
I made $1 billion.
I'm sorry. What?
Me and Ron actually discussed this a few episodes ago.
Yes, we did, Cal. So he knows.
It made $1 billion?
It did.
What?
If you combine domestically and worldwide, it did. This film is a trade of... go ahead, Mel. Go ahead. Let it out.
I have not seen the movie yet, and people can fight me on it, being like, I'm not judging the movie on its movie, but just by knowing what I know, it is not $1 billion film in grade.
Oh, no, it's not. Speaking of something like the film, it is not $1 billion worthy.
Oh, stomach.
Not taste in art anymore? Do people not have respect for? Was I born in the wrong time? I think I'm going to go back to the 20s where there, at least with segregation, things were simple. At least it was forced in the kitchen. As long as I stayed in the kitchen, that meant I didn't get hit. There was sense. There was logic.
I'm weak. Look. Okay, look. Yes. If I got to say something nice, Venom looked good. He looked really good. Tom Hardy, I cared about him. You know, as much as I didn't like his New York accent, which I'm like, man, Tom, come on, brother. Come on. But
I was wondering what you were going to complain about first.
Besides that, the villain's basic.
What's it worth $1 billion to people?
They love the interaction with Venom and Tom Hardy, and they love the fight scene between Riot.
Listen, you know how some movies just make a lot of movie money, and there's no reason for it? You know, I think there's a reason for this movie. I think the reason it made that money is because Venom is a fan favorite character. So it had the Deadpool effect of people really wanted to see the movie just because they like the character. Like, you can't get that for every movie. Like, I feel like Aquaman probably couldn't have got that. But with a character like Venom, they made it work. And you know what? The movie isn't that great. In fact, I may say it's kind of funny.
So you think that the fan service is your ally? You're really adopted the fan service. I was born in it. Molded by it.
It's not even fan service because they changed so much shit. But it's the lone fact that Venom looked cool in the trailer. The movie is called Venom. The character is a fan favorite.
And this movie is
I honest to God feel like the reason it succeeded is Venom as a character carried the movie. And maybe that will go into the sequel, maybe it won't. But I'm glad it made a lot of money, because now Morbius is getting a movie, and I like Morbius.
And it didn't hurt. And it didn't hurt itself that Eminem wrote a song called Venom for the movie. And I'm an Eminem fan. I didn't like that song at all. but it helped it as well.
Is that what you were meaning? I just didn't hear you guys for a little bit.
Oh no, I said that Eminem wrote a song for the film. It's called Venom. It's not that good at all. But hardcore Eminem fans love it.
It's like, I think if it wasn't for the movie, it wouldn't be as bad of a song. But I don't understand it being like, I don't understand how people build up such a fucking hype over that fucking song. I've heard it everywhere now at this point, being like, stores are fucking playing it, for God's sakes. And me being as a homeless person being like, I have to hear this. I have to hear this. What happened to censorship?
This is the first I've heard of it.
Like, guys, just remember this. Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse is still trying to get that audience for people to be like, take us seriously. Venom made $1 billion. That's saying. Nothing makes sense anymore.
I mean, if a long black-haired hippie can make a film that's so bad that it's good, and then have a cult following of it, why can't Venom make $1 billion?
Wait, who's a hippie? What's a hippie? I don't know who a hippie is.
I'll be fine for me, though.
Am I a hippie?
I'm wondering who Cal was talking about, being like, who's a black hippie? Why are we referring to this as the acting hippie?
He's referring to Tommy Wiseau.
Oh,
if everybody loved Venom, the world would be a better place to live.
Wait a minute. I went outside. Okay. So my brother showed up and was like, hey, we got your cat. And I was like, why do you have my cat? So I went to go check and see what he was talking about. I come back and Callum is Tommy Wiseau. Somebody's a hippie. I don't know who's the hippie, but someone's a hippie.
I
can't leave you alone. I can't.
You and I've been
Me
here.
and Mel have to be the parents, because whenever we leave... No, wait, let me be clear. Me and Ron have to be the mom and dad. Because whenever I leave...
Is that what it is? You accuse me of murder?
Who am I kidding? Ron is the only parent, and we're all children. Ron is our dad. Ron is both our dad and our mom. Ron! No!
He's
Come
mom,
back, Ron.
he's dad, he's granddad, grandma. He's auntie, he's great-great-grandparent.
So what's up, Papa Ron? What do you want to talk?
Yeah,
I'm losing it. As we know, as we get off this lovable love of Venom, let's bring our joy back. Can we do that? Let's now, for the last one, we'll talk about Bumblebee, the film that was gonna fix up every mistake that the past Transformers made. Did it do that? Because for me,
yes.
It is good. Not great, but it's good for what it has to be.
Ron, before you continue, just have to say something for legal reasons. Yes, Reactaholics are associated with John Bailey, cast member of the movie Bumblebee. We are biased in our opinions slightly. We will review the movie properly, but our opinions may or may not be biased. Okay, go on, Ron.
And that has to do with copyright?
I liked it. I I am happy for this movie because it's what I wanted. This is what I wanted my Transformers to be. I wanted to see them transform, like not collide with each other like a little action figures. I wanted to see the color. I wanted to feel them. I cared. I laughed. I had fun. If this is the direction that they're going to go with this, please sign me up. I'm down with it.
Leave it to the director of Kubo and the Two Strings to make some magic.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell if they weren't fans of the cartoon, they like studied it. They gave the fans what they wanted in the intro. In the intro, they were like, here's Transformers. Here's everything you wanted. And here's my thing. Before I saw the movie, I kind of wanted to hate it. And here's why. Because I wanted to have a discussion with John where I was negative and he like talked to me about the behind the scenes of the movie. That being said, unbiasedly, I did like the movie. I kind of didn't want to like it because I wanted that conversation. But I did like the movie. I thought it was really fun. John Cena had me laughing my ass off.
Oh, John Cena was a cartoon, this whole thing. He was a cartoon.
And that's good. That's a good one.
If only John Bailey was here to talk about his role as Shockwave and Soundwave. It was so amazing.
He tried, buddy. He tried. But
No.
Hey, he's a long-term fan of the Transformers. Don't be negative. He will come after you.
His performance was great. I was saying he tried to be in this episode today. He did good. Go on, Mel.
What are your 2 cents?
Talk about Bumblebee.
Did we lose her?
Is she
Mel?
dead? Mel?
Mel?
We may have lost Mel for a second. That's okay.
Mom?
I'm not feeling
Oh, wait. Ron's my mom. Ron? Mom?
Don't worry.
Wait a minute. If Ron is our mom...
I'm sorry, I got a call. Or I had a call.
You're okay, hon. But if Ron is our mom, does that make us sand people? Or are we sand people? Oh my god, are we sand people?
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
No,
Mel, what was your opinion?
Sand people.
Mel, what was your opinion on Bumblebee, if you don't mind us asking?
Oh yeah, because I did see it. That was like the last movie I saw. I was impressed as fuck, and it also too. That was the movie out of all the ones I was lucky enough to see because of my situation. It actually was the movie that made me cry the most.
Aww.
Well, it's just like, I wish John was like here, but he's still like, I don't even know if he's joining the call or not because he hasn't messaged me back. But and I wish he was here for me to say this, but it's like, I grew up with Transformers from the moment it first started to recently, and it made, and I know this is going to sound really, really sad in a way, but that was my childhood coming back to life, something that the other Transformers movies haven't done for me, and being like...
They did the opposite.
Yeah, even though we can all make the joke that Michael Bay had like some influence on it, but at least he wasn't fucking in charge. That was
Exactly.
Being like, good, you know your fucking place, asshole. In my fucking childhood. One day.
Get out.
Get out of here, Bay. Get out of here.
Yes.
You know what I think happened? I think Michael Bay was going to make a prequel, but then Steven Spielberg, the producer, just shot a sleep dart at Michael Bay. Then got Travis McKnight. They said, "Hey, can we borrow $1 million from you?" Michael Bay was like, "Sure, take it. As long as you got an explosion in there, don't worry, we'll have one explosion."
In case you're wondering what happened to Michael Bay after he was knocked out with the sleep dart. I didn't kidnap him. I didn't kidnap him. I don't have Michael Bay in my closet. I'm not murdering him slowly. I'm not.
Unless you're not using me the scapegoat this time.
Wait. Hold on, Neil. Neil, do I hear explosions in your background?
No. He's getting out. He's gonna get out.
But see, like the way Mel's feeling for Transformers, it's the exact same way a lot of diehard Transformers felt when they watched Bumblebee. It brought them back. It reminded them why they love this franchise.
Right.
You can the studio can make their money and sell the toys. They can do that, and you can also make a good movie that everyone reminds themselves why they're fans.
Right. And that was something that we missed. Like, don't get me wrong, there was plenty of scenes that made me cry in that movie, but I continued to cry even after leaving. Like, it was like a good few minutes, but that's just how much it was. That was my childhood. Being like, that's every, 80s to early 90s childhood right there. And just seeing it finally brought to justice, too, after they ruined it so many times, where it's just like, it became like, it became one of the many jokes of film and on the internet, being like, oh, great, another Transformers movie.
Hello, Ron's friend.
That's my sister. That's my sister.
Hi, Ron's sister.
She bounced out real quick.
I almost made a joke. Not gonna. I respect you.
That's why I love you, Neil. This is why.
I was gonna call your sister hot.
Neil, I'll talk to you later.
Neil, stop.
Neil, I'll talk to you later.
Stop.
Neil, I'll talk to you later.
Stop.
I'm joking. No, I love you.
He's gonna get a plane ticket to whoop your ass.
Ron, okay. Here's the thing. And yes, this is probably going to be an animated episode. Ron is too nice. Hear me out. Ron would get that plane, come all the way here on the plane, be hyping himself up to kick my ass, see my face, and then you know what he'd do? He'd be like, "Oh, buddy, it's so good to see you for the first time," and then he'd come in. We'd watch some stupid movie.
Too much credit, though, Neil. I think you do. Like me, I know Ron's nice, and I know he's chill, and he's just he's lovable. But I think he has a dark side. We saw that with Patrick Star.
Listen, this is all I have to say.
He's the deceitful.
This is all I have to say. And this is the last thing I will say about Ron. While his sister may or may not be hot, Ron, hotness does not matter. You know what matters? Heart is what matters. And you know what, Ron? I've been ignoring you for a while now. So instead of falling in love with your very hot sister, Ronald Smith, will you marry me?
She's going to be so embarrassed if she watches us.
Will you marry me?
I'll have to think about that, Neil. I'm not that easy, okay? You
All right.
You haven't taken me out. All right? You haven't called me.
Okay.
But
Don't be upset if I date your hot sister while I wait for an answer.
Now he's gonna kill you.
Good night, everybody.
You are in for a huge slap in the face.
Chris, don't worry, Neil. I got a plane ticket already. Don't worry. I'll see you. I got you.
Oh, if I'm to say one last thing about Bumblebee,
go ahead.
The reason, it not only works as a tribute to Transformers, but I think it also works as a film by itself. Because compared to the other stupid sequels, this one is much more personal. We feel and actually care for the main human character and what she's struggling with. And it makes the relationship between her and Bumblebee just that more heartwarming. It's very similar to E.T. if you think about it, with Steven Spielberg as the producer. Yeah,
I agree, but that's where I think that's my only problem was with her, only for one reason. I blame her family. Her family's like that clueless, naive that doesn't exist, or if they do, it's just like, wow, are you like with her? She's like, why are you still here then? Being like, especially they confirmed that she just turned 18, right, in the movie. So with that being said, it's just like, then why are you here? Being like, why are you putting like, in a sense, it also to makes her look like that some of the things that has happened to her with that is essentially her fault to begin with.
And a lot of it too is that, again, it's a story that you've heard before. And what was her name? Haley Steinfeld. You like her, but you're also like, I kind of want to just follow more with Bumblebee than you. That's just me, I'm not saying I don't care about you. I like you. You're cool people, but if I had to pick between you and Bumblebee, okay, you stand over there for a second. I'll go Bumblebee.
Okay, hear me out. So I realize I was just joking. I realize I just told a few jokes. But while watching this movie, I want an honest answer. Did anybody else think that Bumblebee and that girl were a couple?
No.
The trailer made it seem like it. The trailer did.
Some of those scenes, when they're like getting close together and when they're like caring for each other and screaming and trying to protect each other, it just sort of seemed like there was something more there than a friendship.
Romantic.
I'm not saying like anything dirty. I'm just saying she wants to fuck that robot.
That was dirty.
It felt more to me like Iron Giant. To me,
I've never seen Iron Giant.
What? Okay, since I'm the eldest right now. John's not here. I'm the eldest.
Go get him, Mel.
You all need to do some homework if you're going to be doing a movie podcast and you haven't seen Giant. That's absurd. Nope. You all go. Ron, you have some movies you haven't seen either, but this is about right now. You need to go. I don't care if there's still rental movie places that still exist in your area. Go rent it.
There is one.
VHS,
I have a family video right next to it.
Bad Bird.
Then go rent
I like Bad Bird, Cal. I do, but Incredibles is
Watch
exquisite.
the Iron Giant.
I've seen bits and pieces. It looks boring.
Oh no!
Callum, calm down. Calm down, buddy. I see your nose. I see your eyeball.
Oh my goodness.
You'll see the whole movie.
Final 2 cents.
See the whole movie.
Final 2 cents on Bumblebee. Go.
Hold on. No.
I think I've already given my opinion. Girl wanna fuck that robot.
Callum.
No.
Yeah, Callum. Final 2 cents on Bumblebee.
I say their relationship was not a fetish. I say they were just intimate, like a pet and its owner.
Very intimate.
What about your siblings?
Callum, that was not a pet relationship. They like talk to each other and she like
similar. Neil, you have a dirty mind. I mean, what made you assume that? Yes, you do. You assumed it was dirty.
You notice at the end where that one guy goes to hold her hand and she like moves her hand away? She's saving herself for Bumblebee.
No,
her friend was a tool, by the way. Her friend was a basic tool, so I didn't care for him.
Yeah.
Alan,
Fair enough.
girl wanna fuck that robot.
Neil, you are a dirty person.
Maybe.
Yes, you are. Not maybe, you are.
Maybe this
you
is
know-
why Ron won't marry me.
But do you know what's not dirty? Do you know what's pure and lovable? The Oscars. The Oscars are what no one has a bad thing to say ever about. Ever.
You sure about that, buddy?
So, as you know, now the last thing we'll bring upon is the Oscars. And we won't talk about all of them because there's way too much to talk about. But we'll talk about just the ones that we're hoping will win. Or we hope will get the respect it deserves. Go ahead, Callum. I know you want... Callum, I'm releasing it now from you. What movie do you want from the Oscars to get its right respect? Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know too much about the Oscars. I'll probably check that out some other time. But I can inform you about the BAFTAs, which is the British Academy Awards, basically, here in the UK.
All right.
And pretty much the same films are in the same sort of award categories. And last year, the best actor rightfully went to Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill. You look at him and just go, that's Gary Oldman? He's just such a great chameleon, great actor. I always enjoy watching those award-winning films. So this year, I got the chance to watch some of the films. May I just start off with the animated section? So the nominations for Best Animated Feature those are Incredible Isle of Dogs and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I wasn't sure.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse should win by default. I mean, if Isle of Dogs wins, just Wes Anderson, okay. If Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse wins, yes.
Wait, are we talking
expanding
about the
animation?
Yes,
BAFTAs. Callum's talking about the BAFTAs because he's from Scotland, but we're talking about the Oscars. Callum is talking about Scottish Oscars.
Oh,
British
Oscars. Okay.
British.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I've heard about it. So I know kind of what you're talking about. I don't understand it. I just understood that it was always I called them the UK Oscars.
Yeah.
Was that the only one count for you?
There is more. I just wanted to talk about a few lead acting
Make it short
roles
and sweet, man.
and the films that I've seen. So there's roles for Best Leading Actor. There's Steve Coogan as Stan Laurel in Stan and Ollie, which was such a heartwarmingly funny film. And for pardon me for a second. Good night. Okay, I'll keep it down. Thank you. Okay, so the best Laurel and Stan and Ollie was a brilliantly heartwarming film, and for the tone of film that it was, it still managed to make me laugh because, you know, it's Laurel and Hardy. They're such a classic comedic duo. So, but I think the leading role could go to Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury for Bohemian Rhapsody, because, come on, you got to get the right person to play Freddie Mercury of all people, and I think he nailed it.
He did good.
The casting,
He did real good.
Yeah, I agree.
The casting in that film is scarily spot on.
Right. I just think, though, that, like, the only problem I had with Bohemian Rhapsody was the ending. I think they could have went something with different.
Oh, Mel, wait. Hold that in. Just hold that for a minute.
I'm holding.
A few other films that caught my interest. I mean, there's other stuff like costume design, like Mary Queen of Scots, which I saw, which was pretty okay. There was this really bizarre film called The Favourite. This is a really intriguing film. It's just kind of a bizarre tone to it. And it's a really fascinating drama about power dynamics. Probably won't spoil, but it's about the Queen Anne and these two characters who are at each other's lives, trying to gain the Queen's favor, not because they love the Queen, not because they love their future husbands. They're just in it for themselves. And they keep destroying themselves. And by the end, you just feel really uncomfortable, and the directing was pretty unique, and you can't really tell if it's meant to take itself seriously or not.
There you go. All right. Okay, man. Miss Mel, your turn.
Okay, so what were we talking about with the Oscars? Because I got lost.
Who do you want to win? What do you know about them? And who do you want to win?
I don't know much yet, just because you guys know my situation with my phone only being on Wi-Fi. I can only look up so much.
Of course.
So, the few I know, I think Black Panther was the biggest deal, right? That kind of caused a little bit of controversy.
Yep.
It's hard for me because, like, I don't know all the lineup yet. So if you guys... Shit, sorry.
NASCAR.
Sorry.
No, that was a motorcycle.
But you can go up, Mel.
But I don't know who's all what movies are nominated right now.
Black Panther. I'm just speaking for Best Picture. Black Panther, Black Klansman, Roma, The Favorite, Green Book, Stars Born, and Bohemian Rhapsody, and Vice.
Okay, I have not seen the majority of those, so I'm just going to talk about the ones that I know I've seen.
It's okay.
I kind of have to be on the side with Black Panther because I just recently saw Black Klansman. I think it's a awesome movie, so this to me is torn, but I think the message Black Panther did, because they both did similar messages with race, and if nobody hasn't realized that yet, they live in like 1962 still, but that was a specific date for me. But I think they both taught a similar lesson. I just think Black Panther executed in a very, and I might get hate for this, I really will. I think it spoke to everybody, and I think, especially with you call it what you will, there will always be discrimination. There will always be, some prejudice of any shape or form, because people don't understand that race is it stems from a fear of the unknown. Like, everyone's afraid of things that they don't understand.
That's true.
Death is the biggest fear with people. We just know is that we die, and this is how, or all the ways that we can die, but we don't know anything after that. We just know it's like when someone's gone, it's gone. Same with, can you imagine how the first two people of different color skins felt when they saw each other the first time? Even if they didn't act out of, irrationality, there was still fear there.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's just a fear thing. But I think with all the, and I don't believe in reverse racism. I believe racism is racism no matter what. Take note of that. But I think with the racism that's going on, it's Black Panther did it in a way that everyone could understand it. And I know some people may argue being like, well, the majority of people who saw Black Panther were white. Like, I don't know that. I saw it in theaters with my friend. I couldn't see anybody else, because to me it was like, I just knew them as people, not by the color of their skin. And I think that they taught the lesson in a way that is not hate. Whereas with Black Klansman, the only thing that killed it was the ending, but that was because they were showing hate and being like, oh, it's still a problem to this day. It's like, I acknowledge it's a problem, but instead of attacking it in a negative way, how about we kind of what Morgan Freeman was infamously known for?
Get busy living or get busy dying.
If any of you saw that interview, he's notorious for it. Or that's one of the things. He basically said, being like, I'll stop referring to you as a white man if you stop referring to me as a black man.
That's good.
Damn, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Is it
he technically said stop talking about it, but it's kind of, especially nowadays, it's kind of true, because like, hate is hate no matter how you throw at it. It's just now a different type of hate, where it's just like, it's this person's turn to receive hatred, and it's like, I don't agree with that.
See, Ron, the Oscars are not clean. These are the talks we have about the Oscars.
And don't get me wrong, I personally think the Oscars are full of shit. Because here's the problem with them, is that they don't pick films based on how good they are. It's whoever can spend the most money. That's why I'm not for the Oscars in the first place. Was just like, no. And that's most people don't know that, but it's true. It's just like, oh, you want, like, that's why Leonardo DiCaprio didn't win an Oscar until recently. He didn't have enough points. Somebody else outbought his, like, best actor, best film, or best this. Money talks in that industry. So it's not clean. It's corrupt as fuck. So I think no matter what we say, like, we can have an opinion about of who we think should win. But it's like, at the end of the day, they don't care about how the fans feel. And the Oscars are a definite proof of that. They don't care. They just care if their film does well, and they'll pay anybody. Like, there's been times that producers have come to certain voters' homes and bought them shit or gave them money just to persuade the vote.
She's not far away from the truth.
She's not wrong.
Neil?
Can I get my opinions?
Neil? Me, you go?
Well, here's the thing. I will briefly speak about my experience seeing Black Panther, because even though I agree the movie is for everybody, you know, I went and saw the movie twice, and both times I saw it, Mel, could you mute yourself when the wind is blowing, please?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, being like, can I join the call right back? My phone's dying.
You're banned.
Awesome. I've never been banned before.
I'll be distracting. Don't you worry.
Okay.
I saw the movie twice, and one time I saw the movie, and I was the only white person. The second time I saw the movie, I took a friend, and they were the only black person. So the audience in general is pretty mixed. I believe that the movie is for both everybody. The movie is for everyone.
Should be.
I like that. I like that. I love that, Neil.
And
now,
here's the... I really hope it wins Best Picture, because, God, I want those critics to feel it. I want all of those people who's like, well, we can't have a superhero movie winning an Oscar. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. There's one for Best Picture, and it's gonna happen. Fuck you guys. That being said, I do feel like Into the Spider-Verse was a little snubbed. Just because I think it should have got a Best Picture nom. I do. I think Into the Spider-Verse should have got Best Picture. That being said,
replace it?
Oh, what would I take out?
Yes, I have
Stars.
one.
I mean, I know a lot of people like A Star Is Born, but really, that's the one.
It's good. It's good.
It's a good movie, but didn't Venom outsell it?
Don't you dare! Don't do this to me! Don't you dare!
I'm just saying.
Thank you all for this award. All the money was absolutely worth it.
Oh no, Venom has absolutely
actress,
no place.
Special effects, so many awards, so little time.
If Venom won an award, I'd legitimately be kind of upset.
I would.
Like,
I quit movies for a while. I'm like, all right, no one cares anymore. I get it. I'm out.
I think the Thanos nomination, which that's what I call it, but Infinity War got a nomination for Best Effects, and that is solely because of Thanos. And Thanos looks amazing. So even though, like, you know, nobody goes to the Oscars like, oh, I can't wait to see who wins Best Effects. But, you know, I really do hope they win, because that effect is just really good. And Spider-Verse better win. My opinion on the Oscars is I don't watch them.
Understandable, Neil.
I watched the Tonys and I watched the Game of the Year awards. That's all I watch. And I only watch Tonys because they're Broadway performances. And I only watch Game of the Year because they're game announcements. I don't care about the awards. That being said, Black Panther should probably win Best Picture.
I love that, Neil. Love your opinion and your words. But for me, here's my thing, because I looked up what Best Picture really means. You know, Best Picture doesn't really mean the best movie of the year. We all know that. It's just, you kind of understood that. You know, it's more about who had the best moral, who had the best campaign, who inspired the audience, what made people think about and talk about the most. That's what means. And I agree with you, because I would not have been mad if it would have got nominated for Best Picture. But I'd also know that Academy doesn't want animation movies as Best Picture. That's why they created Best Animated, because of what happened with Beauty and the Beast. But that's neither here nor there. For me, if I had, there's only three I'm more excited in this. Animated one, of course, Into the Spider-Verse. No doubt in our mind. We all agreed. Yes, it deserves it. It should win it. If it didn't come out this year, I would have said Incredibles 2, but no.
You're right, dude. That's so weird to think about. Like, the year Incredibles fucking 2 came out, we're all rooting for something else. The random Spider-Man animated episode we got.
Sony Animation. Who knew? The other award that I'm really, because I just love this topic a little bit, is the original. It's more of a tie. Original score and original song. I love the musics in these films. I believe Black Panther should win for Best Original Score. And I know it's not going to win. I would like for Black Panther to win to original song, for Kendrick Lamar and SZA for All the Stars. But we all know that Lady Gaga is going to win with Shallows. I don't hate that song. I like it very much. But we all know it's going to win. And last but not least, Best Picture. I'm going with this one because I believe it's going to win, because I saw this recently and it is my favorite movie. It's Roma. Roma should win. It's not even because it's filmed in black and white. It's stunning. It's literally a movie about nothing and about more of life. It's breathtaking. The cinematography is amazing. It should win. Hands down, it should win this award. But I know the Academy might throw me a curveball. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bohemian Rhapsody does it. If I pick one film that we could take out, is this popcorn, fan favorite candy film, Bohemian Rhapsody. Because, man, no thank you. But that's my opinion.
I liked it, Ron. I liked it.
I liked it too.
And that's fun. You guys can like it. I'm not even saying it's a bad movie. But I am saying that it's the most basic biopic film that I've ever seen. And for it to be nominated for Best Picture, y'all nuts. Rami Malek deserves to be nominated for Best Leading Actor. I don't think the film deserves that award at all. Again, that's just Ron talking.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Well, it seems like all we had to do during that is talk positively about Spider-Man, which leads to our final point of the episode. The Spider-Man Far From Home trailer came out. Let's talk about it. Ron, you go first, my man.
Please.
I mean, Ron, you go first, my mom.
Here's the thing. I was scared. I was scared of this trailer for the most of all superhero movies, only because this is the one that's coming after Endgame. And I know people were crying saying that, oh, you're going to show this trailer, but Spider-Man got snapped. y'all living under a rock. The comic book films. Comic book characters survive. Chill out. What I like, though, about this trailer was, one, I liked, for me, it spoke to me for Peter, how you saw that he didn't want to bring his Spidey suit on his trip. Because I'm thinking from that, it's like, okay, this is after Infinity, after Endgame.
Yes, I'm the same way. I'm conspiracy theorying the fuck out of that.
Yeah, he's a kid. He's a kid. He's like, yo, like, I kind of don't want to do this for a while. Like, that was insane.
Died.
So I like, you know what? I just want to go away, be a kid with my classmates, and just have fun. And I like that. And seeing now Nick Fury saying, hey, look, you're part of us now. You got to start acting like it. I like how now it might be leading Spider-Man to be like the new focal leader of the future of the new Avengers. Since a lot of people are going to be tiring off, we could be seeing Spider-Man growing into that leader. And also, too, are you going to be kidding me? Seeing Mysterio? Wow. Live action? Wow. Jake Gyllenhaal? Wow. You sold me. You got me on. I can't wait for it.
Not to mention Hydro Man, Molten Man, and maybe Sandman appear to be in the movie.
Wow.
That's, man, you saw me sold.
I wonder who hired the water giant from Narnia, Prince Caspian.
Marvel money, bro.
That Disney money can do so much. But Callum, wait, what's your opinion? What's your thoughts on the trailer?
I'll go.
Pretty much the same. Oh, sorry, did you want to go first, Neil?
No. I want to go last. I have opinions.
Okay, so that's... Okay, yeah, of course. Walter Giant from Narnia. I'm glad to see him back in the film business. Only appeared in one film, but I really want to see him in more movies. He looks really awesome, and I really want to get to interview the guy. Also, other things I've noticed. Yeah, it makes sense for Peter Parker to want to go on this trip, but then Nick Fury go, no, I shoot your friend. Oh, don't worry, he's not dead. I just put the sleep dart on him. Just don't make him choke in his tongue. Also, him socializing with his friends and maybe chatting to Zendaya a wee bit, and they're just being friends. But could there be a romance? I don't know. Maybe they have a conversation where they just say, "What if we rewrite the script?" And John says he's figured it out. And yeah, it should be awesome. I have a feeling that John Bailey's going to be coming in. Did you guys get that message?
Jesus, it's like Night at the Opera in here.
I gotta be out soon.
It's okay. We're almost done. We're on the final point. If John wants to come in and talk about Spider-Man, sure, I don't care.
He must talk about Bumblebee. He must talk about Bumblebee.
Go ahead, Neil.
Well, here's my opinion on the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. But in order to properly give it, I have to briefly talk about my opinions on Captain Marvel. Listen, me and Ron have talked about this.
Countless.
I am not excited for Captain Marvel. Now, hear me out. I don't think it's going to be bad. I'm just not super excited for it. I think it looks fine. I think it's interesting. We're going to see the other characters. I'm just not excited. And when I saw the Avengers in-game trailer, I wasn't super excited for that either. Like, I thought it was neat. I thought it looked interesting enough, a good tease. The only part I got excited about was when they showed Hawkeye, because I like Hawkeye. But when the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer came out, any thoughts that I thought I might have Marvel fatigue and stuff like that disappeared. And I was so happy because Mysterio is my favorite Marvel villain. Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters.
Don't do that, man. Calm down.
It's just so good to finally see Mysterio, and Spider-Man looks like he's going to be more Spider-Man-y than last time. The movie might actually be about something this time. It just feels like this is going to be better than Homecoming in all the right ways. And even if Hydro Man, Molten Man, and arguably Sandman are going to be illusions made by Mysterio, I don't mind. But if they aren't, and they've like been hired by Mysterio, dude, you just put Hydro Man, Molten Man, and maybe Sandman in the same movie. That's so cool.
It's dope. That's dope. That's really
Tell
dope.
him you are messaging and it is popping up on the chat. Stop it.
And a lot of people want that too. A lot of people believe that this could be a lot better than Spider-Man Homecoming, which I liked Spider-Man Homecoming a lot.
Tell him!
Sorry, I'm talking to
It's
Johnny. Says
popping
now
up
that we're
in
probably done
video.
here. I'm having too much fun with this.
Stop it!
Child, let your hands go, man. Get off the keyboard.
You blind monkey.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But yeah,
Neil, that all you got, man?
I will also say this. I find it interesting that they are going through with the MJ and Peter Parker relationship. I really hope it's better than the other MJ and Peter Parker relationship. And, final thoughts on the trailer. I have said in the past that if Black Manta got the stupid helmet, which I love, and they didn't give Mysterio the fishbowl, that officially meant that DC had bigger balls than Marvel. And you know what?
Mr. John.
They gave him the fishbowl.
What up?
Hey.
John!
Calm down. What up, John?
You can't calm him down. All he does is pester me on Instagram 24 hours a day.
That's very true,
Like,
John.
I sneezed. I better tag John. I went to the bathroom. I better tag John. I eat food.
We are filming, buddy.
Anyway,
I have autistic kids that leave me alone better than you do.
how you do the film.
Tell him, calm down, buddy.
John, what the rest of me is actual autistic.
Help.
Listen to the voices that I can do.
All right. John, what
Hello.
did you think of the Far From Home trailer?
I loved it. If you'd watched my Stardust review, you'd know that.
John,
Wait.
thanks, John,
You're welcome.
for that deep analysis of Spider-Man Far From Home.
There's not a lot
John,
to...
while I got
There's
you
not a
here,
lot
buddy,
of-
what'd you think of
not a lot to
Aquaman?
get into. Say that again?
What'd you think of Aquaman? While you're doing these speed reviews.
Again,
Hey,
I
hey,
reviewed this
bro.
on Stardust, so if you'd watched it, you'd already know that.
Oh, great. Okay.
Let's set this
I
camera
did
back.
watch it. I was just saying for the audience, buddy.
Oh. Well, how am I supposed to know that? You obviously did not, or else you wouldn't have asked me. No,
That's so
it looked like a computer just threw up all over the screen. It's just too much going on at the same time for me. I mean, I still enjoyed it, but I thought it was a lot going on at the same time. Same thing with Spider-Verse, to be honest. But I still enjoyed both.
Oh,
I
that's
just
fighting
liked
word.
Bumblebee better.
I mean, I agree with that. Honestly, we're kind of on the tail end here, but could you give your opinion on the Oscars?
I didn't watch, to be honest. Sorry.
No, they've come on yet. We're just giving on our picks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it. So.
You feel the same way about it. Okay, he feels the way. He feels the way. He knows what the Oscars are.
Every year it gets worse and worse, and now they're throwing us some pop culture bone. Gee, thanks.
You're all right, man.
All these movies are making billions of dollars. You better finally give them a little recognition.
Hey, look, they try to make a popular category. Oh, wait a minute.
But if a merman makes out with a mute person, it's fine.
Yeah, if the creature of the Black Lagoon has this hardcore, weird romantic comedy, that's good. If Thor hangs out with Iron Man, no.
I don't understand, though. He didn't, like, spread his eggs all over the floor of the ocean, and she didn't come in behind him like fish do. I don't even know what happened. Like, that doesn't make any scientific sense to me whatsoever.
It's very inaccurate. Very inaccurate.
And that's where escargot comes from, everybody.
But John, here's the thing, though. Because we all know what Best Picture means. Doesn't mean nothing. It obviously doesn't mean anything. But
it means the Best Picture according to a whole bunch of rich white celebrities / famous rich people. That's what
exactly.
Nothing really matters to me. Right.
But
except for tagging me on social media. That's the only thing that matters to me.
Yeah, go. Stop. If you had to pick one of them to be taken out, as in AKA Spider-Verse, your favorite movie, by the way. What?
No, Bumblebee's my favorite movie. Spider-Verse is not my favorite.
Please tell us more about Bumblebee. Please tell us more about your role in Bumblebee. I saw you in the cinema, and you were amazing, John.
You're skipping the line, pal. Take a number. I'm answering his question first.
What film could, if you had to, what could you want to be nominated for Best Picture so it can get the respect it deserves?
Honestly, 2018 was Logan 2018 or was it the year before?
The year before.
Logan?
No,
that one I'm still angry that didn't get any kind of mention because that was some hardcore, like grade A acting in that film, even if it was a pop culture movie. I don't remember. I don't even know who's up for winning this year, to be honest.
This is why you got me. This is why you got the man. I got you.
All right, knock yourself out because I've been busy lately. I've been struggling with internet and car problems all week.
That's called real life problems. I understand that enough. Black Panther, Black Klansman, Roma, Bohemian Rhapsody, Green Book, The Star is Born, Vice, and The Favorite.
I haven't seen The Vice. I haven't seen Favorite. Of all the ones that were listed, I've heard good things about Green Book, but I haven't seen that one either.
I can see you stuff. Ugh.
Honestly, I don't think Black Panther was a great film, but I didn't like. I felt the same way about it that I felt about Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, yeah, that was a good movie. That's the greatest movie ever made.
No, I agree with you.
To be perfectly honest, it feels like because the world's so politically correct, everybody just jumped on board. It's just like, oh no, this movie's the greatest movie of all time because we don't want to look like we're stuffy, mean white people. You know what I mean?
God help you. God help you. On Twitter. Oh my goodness.
Other than for special effects, I don't think it had. Well, I take that back. Killmonger's performance was fantastic, but other than that, it was pretty basic, great film. You know, it's Oscar. Spider-Verse too. Like Spider-Verse, very artistic. A lot of computer animated stuff that was beautifully done, but it was so much like it was seizure inducing. It was too much for one film. It kind of reminded me of other films where it's like, okay, we have to do one movie, but we want to put as much into that movie as possible. We'll call it Batman versus Superman. As how many stories can you fit in there in 3 hours?
That one
stung me a little bit. 6 comic book stories in 3 hours? Can you do?
Oh no! I got laid down.
I mean, that was kind of my criticism, buddy. Like, I thought it should have been 2 movies.
Yeah, Spider-Verse is the same way. I felt like it was just a lot going on. It was almost a little bit hard for me to follow too. I
loved it though.
I don't know, man. Honestly, out of that whole group, I don't know. Vice is probably the one that most white people will pick, but I haven't seen it. caring about.
Pretty clear.
Here's my
I'm like,
that would be
Bush
nominated.
and Cheney aren't even in office anymore. Why do I care? I know that it wasn't good. I don't know. What was the third from the last one that you mentioned? Because there was one in there that I was like, yeah, that one was pretty good.
Stars Born?
Stars Born, yeah. Out of all those, that one's the one that I
Yo, you hear that?
actually earns. Because,
Look,
holy crap, man. You forget that that's Lady Gaga, and you forget that that's Bradley Cooper. And Sam Elliott, holy crap, dude. I love that dude no matter what.
Sam Elliott was the pretty good rolling day.
Ron, I thought it was a fine movie.
Sorry, I don't
It's
have
just
subtitles, so I
it
have no idea
didn't
what you're
grab
saying.
me.
Be
You're
real.
okay, man. Well, we essentially, since we didn't have much of a plan today, we just reviewed a bunch of stuff and gave our opinions.
Okay.
And one of them was Bumblebee. So, would you like to review your own movie?
I have already, but I can always say good things about it again.
On his Stardust. Check it out, everybody.
I've been a little slow with my Stardust stuff lately because my room, I don't know if you've noticed, is completely trashed.
That hurricane just went through there.
Yeah, a hurricane of pop culture stuff has gone through here. I've been on a little bit of a shopping spree. By the way, you future Batman the Animated Series podcast, you notice the thing in the corner over there.
Oh.
It's my most recent purchase.
Neil, gotta get that sorted.
I bought it without even asking how much it was.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, Transformers was
cool,
a friggin'. I was happy enough just to be part of it, but I'm sure there's a lot of other voice actors that have been in the last 4 or 5 movies, whatever, however many they've been, 5, that were like happy to work, but the movie itself was just like, yeah, that was a job. They could have paid well, This one is actually a freaking good movie. And even if I had not worked on it, I still would have loved this film. There was so few little minor things that I just was like, I didn't really need that, but it didn't bother me as much as it didn't take me out of the film or make me like, I don't want to watch this anymore. Everything in the movie was freaking awesome from beginning to end. I got lucky and saw an early screening of the film by sheer coincidence. We didn't even know what movie we were going to see which screening we were going to see. And they said we were looking for parents with kids aged 10 to 12, and I have 2 in that category. So I took my 2 youngest kids with me, and then the guy comes down and is like, "Congratulations, you're the very first audience to see the Bumblebee movie." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not what I worked on." So, and because it was the screening, I had originally recorded temporary voices for 6 characters, including Optimus Prime. And in the screening version, I was Optimus Prime's voice as well as all the other characters I recorded. So that was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see that version of the film with all the voices I did in it. It was just freaking awesome. So that was my best memory so far. And then the seeing it when I found out October 31st of last year that I was going to be Shockwave and Soundwave, which are my 2 favorite characters of all time, I was just like, holy crap. And not only did I book something, I booked 2, and I booked my 2 favorite characters. So, but the last session I did with Travis Knight, because Travis Knight was actually physically there in the booth with everybody when we recorded Paramount. I didn't realize it was him until the 4th session, because he's not like George Lucas or, M. Night Shyamalan. Like, I didn't recognize him off the bat. When I looked him up later, I'm like, that's the guy who directed Coraline and Kubo and the 2 Strings. Holy crap.
I love Kubo and the 2 Strings.
I know. Both of those movies were fantastic. Kubo deserved an Oscar. Since we're talking Oscars, Kubo certainly deserved it more than freaking Coco did or whatever. That's beside the point. I won't go into that. So anyways, he's a legit Transformers fan. Like, we had a few short conversations about the original cartoon and where they even came up with the idea for the voice. I even told him, I was like, I'm surprised you guys didn't get David Warner for this. He said, David Warner, why? I'm like, well, that's the voice that Corey Burton, that's the impression he was doing of when he came up with the voice for Shockwave. He's doing, that impression. And he's like, I never knew that. That was kind of cool. Like, I was giving him little inside informations about Transformers that only hardcore fans would know. But he's still a legitimate fan. Before each of the characters we recorded, he actually had a full montage from the original cartoon of them speaking, like a full minute's worth. And I was like, this guy did his freaking homework. I guarantee you Michael Bay didn't do that. And to be accurate in this soundstage,
that's not a lie.
Huge screen with surround sound system, getting to watch like these clips from the old show, and then getting to see the pre-finished animation for that whole first opening scene on Cybertron. Literally like one of the best experiences in my entire life. It was so freaking cool. So, but the movie itself, it looks great. They look like they're supposed to look. They sound like they're supposed to sound. It's got so much freaking nostalgia. It was like Spider-Man: Homecoming compared to the rest of the Marvel universe. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the biggest giant. It's not the over the top computer animated, puke fest that most of these kinds of movies are. It's a much smaller story, which makes it work better because it's so stinking
and
cute.
more personal.
Yeah, and the comedy comes very easily and naturally instead of being forced into it. None of the racist stuff, none of the sexist stuff. There was no. I mean, because Michael Bay's still a producer, I'm sure he may have had a finger in the pot when it came to some decisions.
He threw some stuff in the pot.
Yeah, and De Bonaventura has already said that this is not a soft reboot. I've been calling it pre-boot because it's a prequel reboot, but it's not a reboot at all. That was just a joke I made up. Apparently, I confused one fan who's like, "Oh, one of the actors says it's actually a soft reboot." I'm like, no, I was just making a joke. Calm down. I don't know these things any more than you do. It's still officially a prequel. It is not a reboot of any kind. So they're saying by the end of the film, a lot of people are confused because you see Optimus as his original truck. And they're saying, what's to say that they didn't come to Earth, regroup, just like they said at the beginning of the movie, establish a base, regroup, and then go back to Cybertron and take the war back to them? Who's to say that didn't happen between 1985, 1986, whatever, and 2007 when the other movie takes place? So there's just more room for stories in between this movie and the first one that we got in 2007. So besides that, the little nods to things that I didn't really care for, like Simmons having his name tag on there. There was a lot of dumb stuff that they cut, by the way. You're welcome.
Oh, they cut dumb stuff.
The screening, there was a lot more stupidity things. There was a lot of dumb jokes from John Cena. And the way they edited it for the final version of the film, I actually ended up liking John Cena. I did not like him in the screening.
Really?
I love John Cena in the movie.
Yeah, because in the final version of the film, they kind of mellowed out his performance instead of coming across as this over-the-top kids villain almost.
That's what I thought he was.
All the humor came from him just being the straight guy, but saying things that came across as funny. Like, their names are literally
the power of editing.
That doesn't raise any red flags, and the whole thing about I sold some mellow bars or whatever. And he's like, yeah, we know. Like, that little type of stuff was way funnier than... There was a whole scene about him wanting a 10-gallon hat from Texas because they had to go to Texas to intercept these bad guys. And it was just so freaking... And I remember mentioning at the end when they were doing the questions about the film, I was like, the military just seems so freaking goofy. Like, it just seems like there's too much joking going on. Shouldn't some of them at least be serious some of the time? And everybody in the whole room, like, agreed, like, yeah, the military was, like, super silly. And they didn't because every single one of them, except for the main general, John Cena's boss, he was the only serious one in the entire group. Everybody else was a comic relief. And like, if they could just tone that down and make them, because it has a very Iron Giant, Wall-E kind of feel to it, with the cuteness of a robot not understanding how things work, and that's a lot of our favorite characters. Thor was like that at the beginning. So was Drax. And a lot of our characters are like, we're not from here. We don't understand your culture. That's where all the humor comes from. And so it just kind of had that vibe to it. I'm like, and I even use that illustration as an Iron Giant. The military, there's one funny character and all the rest of them are serious. So why do we need a whole bunch of funny military guys in the movie? It just takes it out. It took me out of the film. In the final version of the film, they toned that way down, and I liked it much, much better. So, the action was freaking great. They don't shake the camera around or just not show you what's going on like they did in Michael Bay's movie. I remember the biggest scene of the film was when Optimus finally fights Megatron, and Michael Bay was shaking the camera so much you couldn't even see the fight. It was like those movies, the comedy movies, like, wow, that would have cost millions of dollars to make this scene in a movie. It's too bad there's just so much going on, but they actually show the actor looking when you don't see what they're seeing.
You couldn't even pay attention, though.
Yeah, that's like the old movies kind of done that way. This one, they actually show you what's going on, and it works. And sometimes the computer animation, I can't tell if it was practical effects or computer or CG. Like parts when she hugs Bumblebee or like gets really close and touches him, it does not look
the same way.
So I know that they did build a full Bumblebee mock-up like robot, but I can't tell which times they switched him out for the real thing and the CG thing. That was that good. But yeah, it's just such a freaking great movie. I could have done without Bumblebee losing his voice again, but at least this time we actually got to hear him talk for the first good chunk of the film.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, John, I really want to ask you about the voice recording sessions. What did it feel like when you actually voice recorded the characters? What did it feel like?
It felt the same way as I've been recording characters for 10 years. I mean, I was a little happier about it because it was shot, but I mean, I couldn't get my hopes up because as far as we all knew, they were all just going to be scratch voices. We had no idea if any of us were going to be in the final version of the film. The only one that knew was David Soboleff. They told him in September that he was going to be Blitzwing so he could advertise for it because Blitzwing has a whole full scene, has several lines. The rest of us only have a handful of lines. So they gave him like a little more heads up, like, hey, check this out. This is exclusive. They gave him a link and like a clip to share. So it would be kind of a promotional thing instead of, just you're in this movie. So we had no idea to the end of October if anybody was going to be in the final version of the film. And like I said, I recorded for 6 voices, and only one of those I knew was going to be replaced by Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime at the end. So the other ones were all up in the air. Originally, I recorded for Wheeljack, and Ironhide had a line, and Starscream had a line.
Nice.
Soundwave, Shockwave. Who else? Brawn had a line. His got to stay in. And Ratchet. I recorded for Ratchet originally, too. Which is not one of the ones I do very well, which I mentioned that ahead of time. But he was like Travis and I was really impressed with me because he's like, man, it sounds just like the original cartoons. I'm like, I've been practicing these voices for 35 years. So
I'm a fan, man. I got this.
Over
John, I got something to tell you. I got something to tell you, John, and you can either think this as an insult or a compliment. Going into the movie, I didn't know which ones you were voicing, and I was trying to guess. And Shockwave and Soundwave, they came up, and I was like, "Oh, they got the original voice actors from the cartoon."
A lot of people thought that. That means I did a good job.
Yeah, you did a great job, man.
I was feeling to anybody to any hardcore fans that are just still disappointed that they did not get the original actors in. Corey Burton did an interview before the 2007 movie came out, and he said he didn't want to have anything to do with the live action films. So I don't have to feel guilty about that one. A lot of it was out of convenience rather than out of like, we want to get all the original actors in here. They already had several actors coming in. I wasn't the only one recorded for all those voices. Steve Bloom recorded for all these characters. In fact, when he and I were at the session at the same time, that last session I was there, and they came out and said, we just need to know which characters you've booked before. And I'm like, well, great. I haven't booked any of them except for Optimus. And I know that was going to end up being replaced. So he was like going through the list, done it, didn't do it, done it. And I'm like, great. Well, Steve done all these, so there's not going to be anything left for me. So when I came in, they only had 3 voices for me to do. And one of them was one I was already going to do. And so it was just down to Ratchet and Brawn, I think. And I was like, would you mind if I recorded some of the other characters? He's like, oh, you want to give those a shot? Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, phew. So I ended up being able to record for all of them, the ones that I do really well. And I was really happy. But that was also a very good paycheck. But that's not why I did it. I was just like, I won't be able to sleep at night knowing that I didn't say something and say, hey, I do these others really well if you would like me to give them a shot. I do remember we had a conversation about Ratchet either sounding like the ones from the films previous, or does he need to sound like the original cartoon? And he said, well, can you give me a sense?
You really are fanboys of doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, I did the 2007, the Ratchet voice, and I do a pretty good one. And he's like, no, we definitely want the G1 one. So I was like, yes. Everything he said made me really happy. And I hadn't seen anything but that opening scene. I said, this one piece of movie is all you could release this and fans would be freaking happy. You wouldn't even need to make the rest of the movie.
Just make a 3-minute short film and the fans will be satisfied.
Pretty much. And it was a lot. I mean, it was longer than 3 minutes. There was a good chunk. And then they decided to, originally that whole scene from Cybertron lasted all the way till Optimus gets overwhelmed. And it looks like they cut that in half and then moved that second part of the scene as a flashback later on in the woods. That originally didn't happen. Originally, he woke up and then the Optimus Prime hologram came on and then he remembers. So they split up that opening scene a little bit, which is kind of cool because that way you can hear me in the movie twice instead of just in one specific scene. Otherwise, I would just go to the movie, watch the opening scene, and go home because I can just want to hear my part.
That makes it more engaging. Yeah.
I have a feeling because A, Corey Burton has already said that he did not want to do it. B, they had a bunch of us in there and they gave everybody a shot pretty much who wanted to try. And thirdly, I have a feeling they did not want to bring Frank Welker in for Soundwave just to do those 2 lines, knowing his rate was probably insane crazy. And this was done on a very small budget, if you guys did not already know that. And I'm really, really happy that A, I get to be a part of it. That's always going to be my favorite part. I'm sorry, everybody. B, it's a great film. So I don't just have to be happy that I'm in a Transformers movie. I'm in a good Transformers movie. And C, it's a movie that was going to have a lot of longevity, and people are going to watch this. It's already made back 5 times its budget. There are already talks about a sequel. So fingers crossed for more stuff in the future, because if they make more movies like this one, I am totally on board.
Also, John, you met Peter Cullen, and you were really excited.
Peter Cullen, you mean?
Sorry, Peter Cullen.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Peter Sullen's the sad guy. Peter.
It's okay.
No, he's the monster.
He's very sullen. Yeah, no, I met him in 2011. I saw him in 2010, but I didn't get in the line soon enough. But I met him personally in 2011. I met him again in 2012. I know a bar that he goes to every Thursday night. So if I wanted to go say hello to him, I could anytime I wanted to. But I'm not going to bug him. I don't want him to hate me.
Like a fan. Like a fan, I get that feeling. 100%.
I would do that.
I don't want him thinking that I'm trying to come after his job, because that was never the goal. The goal was always to work on something with him, which this crossed that off the list finally, because I never thought that was going to happen. He's the same age as my father, and he's born in the 40s, and he's pushing 80 years old. So the number one thing on my bucket list of voiceover jobs to do was to work on a Transformers project as a Transformers character, along with Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. And Bumblebee movie crossed it off.
God,
I never ever thought that was going to happen. So that was so cool. And it was funny because it's kind of ironic. Like Optimus Prime's reaction to Shockwave and Soundwave showing up is kind of what I feel like Peter Cullen is worried about me showing up, being able to do Optimus Prime's voice. He's like, oh crap.
Now, John.
Because you voiced Optimus Prime in the cartoon series.
Well, I voiced Optimus Prime for a lot of stuff. I scratched the entire film for him before he came in to record it. If you guys anywhere near New York, the FAO Schwartz has just added on a whole Transformers section. There's a big 8-foot animatronic Optimus Prime statue. That's my voice in that, and a bunch of other projects that you guys will never ever know about. Most of them are for like Target and Walmart, and Toys R Us is defunct now. But yeah, there's lots of stuff they sent me to do. But it was more of a, we know a guy that does a really good Optimus Prime voice that's a whole lot more available than Peter Cullen is. We don't have to fly him in or drive him in. We don't have to worry about his schedule or his rate being way too much money for this little tiny thing that we're doing. It's like, and I'm fine being I keep trying to explain this. There's a lot of Transformers fans that are angry about my character and they think I just sound like crap. And yeah, to each his own. I mean, everybody has an opinion. It's not my fault that your opinion's wrong.
We're not angry. We love you, John.
I walk out the room then.
To those people who think I'm trying to steal his job, I'm not after his job. I make myself available for all voiceover work, and I take everything I get because I have a family to take care of. So if they know the rule, if Peter Cullen wants to do the job and he's available and they want to get him, they don't even need to ask me because I'm not going to steal the job away from another voice actor. If they can't find the other actor to do it, or they can't get him to do it, or the budget's too much, or he just says no, or they retire, whatever. If they're not going to do it, and for some reason or other, then I'm available. But if they want to do it, I'm not going to stand in their way. It's not the first time that I've
Don't forget to follow John's family on Stardust.
It's true. At least 2 of them.
That's respect. That's called legit. And for you, John, you said that's one of the things you got off your bucket list, like on your personal bucket list for yourself. Seeing all this for yourself now for Bumblebee, do you see a bigger future for this franchise? Like, will this get that taste out of everyone's mouth for the past Transformers movies?
This movie will make you forget that the bad movies ever took place. It's such a good film. It really is. Like I said, I would love this movie even if I wasn't part of it. And that's just because I'm an old school Transformers fan. It's a great movie.
I love that. I love that very much. But yo, Neil, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Don't be fired up from me, man. But Neil, man, I gotta go. I gotta go pick up my friend, man. I gotta go take him somewhere.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for having me on.
End the episode,
Bye,
man.
Ron.
John,
Bye,
you'd be
everybody.
good.
Go check out all of
Be
John's
good.
reactions on
Good.
Stardust.
Be well. One love, respect.
All right. Well, I think that's the end of the episode. Check everybody out. Their stuff's in the description. Callum, you got any final words?
I
got some words. Callum, it's okay.
Peace,
I will
peace,
make
love,
the Batman
guys.
episode happen.
Peace and love.
See you, buddy.
Y'all.
I will land it on these words, these timeless words of all time. Girl wanna fuck that robot. Good night, everybody.
No, just no. Just no.